Welcome back to Red Devils Redemption. I am your host, Miles Aronson, here to talk to you about all news Manchester United. We'll be talking about two games, the Arsenal game and the Brighton game. Both losses. One of them shouldn't have happened. The other one should have happened because we just look horrible. There's not a lot we can say about bad performances other than they're bad performances. So with that being said, go ahead and roll that intro tape and let's go ahead and get started on this week's Red Devils Redemption episode.
Ollie, here we are once again, an all too familiar story of poor performance and a heavy defeat.
No, it's not easy to say something apart from it's the darkest day I've had leading these players.
They have better players than we have if you look at it in total. There will be a rebuild for sure.
I trust my players, and I trust my players to give good performances and get the best results, and they have shown it so many times.
One more here for Anthony! Instant star of the Stretford end! Take a bow, new boy! Beautiful ball. Marcus Rashford's onto it, and Rashford scores! Old Trafford triumphant again!
So there's a couple things I want to talk about in this week's episode. Obviously, we're going to talk about the 3-1 loss to Arsenal, which probably should have been a 1-1 draw. And then we're going to talk about today's 3-1 loss against Brighton, which probably should have been a 3-1 loss. I'm not saying that we should have done anything differently in that game. We looked terrible, and we'll talk about it. But first, let's start with the Arsenal game. Obviously, Arsenal versus Manchester United, there's a lot of history there. Two teams that are starting to climb the tables in terms of bringing back history into the club. Arsenal, Arteta has done good managing that team, bringing in the right players, Gabriel Jesus, obviously not Kai Havertz, but Martin Odegaard, Saka, all these guys who have put in a shift for Arsenal have made them a Champions League competing team now. And, when we play them, it's always a pretty close game. So going into last week's game before the international break against Arsenal, pretty even game. I would have thought probably a 2-1 result for either team would have been fair before the hand, right? So getting into the game, thank God, again, we put Rashford on the left, which is so helpful because he loves that left position, getting down the byline and cutting in crosses, whether it's a cutback shot, a cutback pass, or a take it to the byline shot or pass. That's his preferred side, and that's where he makes his magic. So starting Rashford on the left against Arsenal was a great idea. Obviously, we get rewarded with that with like a 25th, 26th minute goal from Rashford from the left, just like I said, cutting in and shooting on his right foot to the far post, and Ramsdale can't do anything about it. 1-0 United. Now, the thing about United that I've noticed is we switch off so quickly. There's no constant pressure, regardless if we're 1-0 up, 1-0 down, 2-0 up. There's always a switch off. You watch these games and you wait, okay, so when's the switch off going to happen? When are we going to switch off? And for this game against Arsenal, the switch off was a minute. Probably not even a minute, probably like 30 seconds after we scored our goal. Rashford gets our goal. We'd celebrate, right? And then they kick off. Literally 30, 45 seconds later, Arsenal get the counterattack. Ball gets cut up. Odegaard's just sitting at the top of the key. Great pass into Odegaard and great finish from Odegaard, making it 1-1 within the 27th minute. Not even a minute after United had scored. So the switch off was instantly. Onana celebrated a little too early for United. You score in the 26th minute and then you celebrate like you've already won the game, Onana, and we haven't. It's only the freaking 26th minute. We're not even halfway through the first half and you're celebrating like we won the game. We hadn't. And I'm not saying Onana celebrating was the reason why Arsenal scored 30 seconds later. No. I'm just saying you got to get your head in the game, man. We're playing Arsenal, one of our biggest rivals. Yes, you can celebrate a little bit, but to do that and then let a goal go in the next 30 seconds, it's unreal, man. Probably De Gea, hate to say it, to have De Gea back in this team, not a bad shout. Very controversial opinion because Onana is good for our play style. We love playing out of the back. Ten Hag loves playing out of the back, and Onana fits that perfectly. But to be honest, his shot stopping is not to the level that David De Gea's was. So do with that as you will, but we're going to have to stick with him. And in January, come AFCON time, when he leaves for Cameroon to go play with the international team, we're going to have struggles. I can guarantee you that. So at this point, the game's 1-1. pretty even so far. We go into halftime, still 1-1. We're pushing on the front door a little bit. Our first halves are usually good. Our second halves are usually not, which was the case in this Arsenal game. We go into half 1-1, and then we come out to half. Arsenal start to press a little more. Obviously, one of the talking points is Kai Havertz, quote-unquote, penalty. I think it was a dive, which it was a dive because it was given as a non-penalty. First, the ref gives it, looks at VAR, says, no, there's no contact. Havertz falls too easily, which he does. And Arsenal fans will admit that. Havertz falls too easily, no penalty given. Correct decision by VAR. Thank God VAR finally gets something right. But then, Rasmus Højlund, on the other side of the counter, does basically the same thing, except this time he does receive contact in the box. Bunch of pulling and pushing on his shirt, and he gets pushed down. I'll pop up an image of the foul right here. I'm looking at it right now. Wow, that's a foul. You see the image? That's obviously a foul. Ref doesn't even stop the play. Ref doesn't do any VAR, doesn't blow his whistle for a check, nothing. Ref lets play continue. Ref just blows that out of the water, saying there's not even a chance for a check for VAR, which is absolutely absurd because he has possession of the ball, gets absolutely knocked off where the defender receives no ball. The defender does not get the ball. The defender gets Rasmus. Rasmus falls in the box. Ref just waves it off VAR is just so inconsistent. It's actually mind-blowing to watch some of these games and just see how affected they will be by VAR. The majority of Premier League games will probably be different scores if it weren't for VAR. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So Rasmus Højlund gets fouled in the box. No VAR, no penalty given for United. United are fuming. This is probably the 80th minute-ish. We're fuming. We should have gotten a penalty. We should be 2-1 up. All right, whatever. Play continues. A beautiful, beautiful through ball into our star boy, Alejandro Garnacho, rocking his new number 17 jersey. A through ball into Garnacho. Garnacho makes the runs in between the defender's lines. Beautiful touch, beautiful setup, beautiful finish. Far post, on the ground low. Ramsdale has no chance. 83rd, 82nd minute. Goal for Alejandro Garnacho. Goal for United. 2-1 United. Woo! Right? Woo! Right? No. Because of course, VAR comes in and checks it out and says no goal, offsides. And this one has all United fans fuming. I mean, I've seen posts about it still to this day. It's been almost 2 weeks, and it's still to this day people are posting about this offsides goal because we are getting robbed every single week by VAR, by these refs that are miles and miles away from the game, watching these on a screen with 1 to 2 camera angles. Where are the other camera angles? They're sitting in this little press box where they're watching replays and making VAR decisions. And then they're going to have the audacity to call this, and I'm looking at it again right now, this picture, this still frame of Alejandro Garnacho, he's onside. This is a goal. I don't know what VAR is talking about. It's way too close for you to say it's not a goal. In my opinion, I think the Premier League should adapt some rules like football, American football. If the replay is not clear and evident to overturn the play, the call on the field stands. And to be honest, I think that's what's needed in the VAR because some of these opportunities that refs are looking at are so minusculely close that you can't say either or. And so you just have to go with the call on the field, in my opinion. So that should have been a goal. But instead, VAR gets called back, goes to the screen, looks at it for a couple minutes, and chooses to disallow the goal. 1-1 again. No goal for United. And I think that's when, again, our spirits got crushed. Like I said, we switched off instantly after our first goal. I think after Garnacho's offside goal, we switched off again immediately because the next 8 minutes of stoppage time, we played 8 minutes of stoppage time, by the way. The next 8 minutes of stoppage time were all Arsenal. Arsenal pounced on us. They dominated. They're creating the chances. They looked like they were going to go on and score. And they did. But before we talk about their winner, obviously I have to mention some of the subs we have and the lack of depth that we have within this team. I think one of the big reasons why Declan Rice scores this late winner for Arsenal on a corner kick time in the 95th minute of stoppage time is because we finished the game with Harry Maguire, in fucking 38-year-old Johnny Evans as our center back pairings. Listen to me. Manchester United is finishing the game against Arsenal, a big derby game against Arsenal. We're finishing the game with our back line consisting of Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans, the 40-year-old Johnny Evans. What the hell is going on? Where is our squad quality? I know Luke Shaw is injured. I know Terrell Malacia is injured, and those are two left backs and right back players. I know Rafael Varane is injured, who is our starting center back. But we cannot be finishing games with Leacha coming off the field in like halftime and then putting on Maguire and Johnny Evans to play against Arsenal, the team that almost won the league last year. We're finishing with Johnny Evans and Maguire in our center back pairings. That's why we lost. And it's evident because in the corner from Rice, the ball comes into the back of the post. But nobody is marking Declan. The two people that are closest to Declan, wouldn't you know, Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire. Except that nobody steps to the ball, giving Declan Rice freaking acres of time to just chest the ball down and then volley it into the near post. Where was our keeper? Obviously, he probably should have saved that if you're looking at the replay, to be honest. And then secondly, why is Maguire or Evans not pressing that ball? And this is just another reason why we can't finish games with Evans and Maguire as our center backs. Especially Maguire. I mean, I'm not saying Evans should be in that lineup at all either. But Maguire has been riddled with mistakes throughout his career, especially with England recently. And Johnny Evans is... I don't know why we have Johnny Evans. I don't know why we bought him. I don't know what he's doing for our club. He's too old. It didn't make any sense for me. So when I saw that Johnny Evans and Maguire got subbed on in this Arsenal game, to be honest, I knew we were going to lose. And lose we did. And to add insult to injury, Gabriel Jesus... Let me back up. To add insult to injury, instead of playing the 8 allotted minutes that the ref awarded for the extra time at the end of the game, we played 12. So I guess it just doesn't matter what the refs' numbers are putting up because they're going to just pick their own time they want to end the game, right? I'm literally looking at a freeze frame of Gabriel Jesus' goal against the United to make it 3-1 just to seal Arsenal's win, right? There's no coming back for United at this point. It says 8 minutes of stoppage time, and on the clock, it says 102. That's 4 minutes over the allotted extra time period. And I'm not complaining that this would have changed the game. I'm just saying there's so much inconsistency with the reffing, the VAR decisions, the way these games are handling, and how are you going to make these teams play exponentially more games throughout the season while adding on an extra 10 minutes, extra 12 minutes to the end of these games? These guys are playing an extra game every 7 games. They're playing an extra game every 7 games with the amount of stoppage time and extra time that refs are adding on to the end of games, which is unreal. To see 108 minutes in a freaking game that doesn't even go to extra time is nuts. It should never be that high, regardless of if there's somebody sitting there for 40 minutes on the field injured. A game should never be played that high. So Gabriel Jesus seals the win for Arsenal in the 102nd minute of the game. Just absurd. 102nd minute, 8 minutes of stoppage time. Tell me how that works. Game ends at 90 minutes. If we play 8 minutes of stoppage time, right, the game would end at 98, if my maths is correct. Not 102. So that's just another example of the poor refereeing and the bad VAR decisions that went on against Arsenal. I mean, Ten Hag commented about that after the game. And to be honest, Ten Hag, that's not your most concern. Your concern is with the players and the attitudes they bring to the games. And speaking of their attitudes, we got a little touchy subject we're going to talk about right now. Just real quickly. We got to talk about Sancho, obviously. And we have to talk about Anthony. Because those are our 2 wingers who are just absent from our team now. They're not here anymore. Sancho, game against Arsenal, didn't even make the lineup. And Ten Hag before the game says Jadon Sancho's training was not up to par, and this is why we left him out of the matchday squad. Simple enough, leave it at that. That's a perfect explanation of why Jadon Sancho was not there. It's the manager's decision. It's Ten Hag's decision. If Jadon Sancho is not properly preparing and performing well in training at Carrington, then why would he pick you for the match day? So after the Arsenal game, after a 3-1 defeat, where the team is already down on morale, 5 minutes, not even like that, as soon as this Arsenal game's over, Jadon Sancho, black Instagram post with words on it saying, "I have been made a scapegoat." You know, I'll throw it up right here. He says he's been made a scapegoat. A scapegoat for what, bro? You ain't training properly. You're showing up late. You have a history of doing this with other clubs at Dortmund before we even signed you. What are you talking about, a scapegoat, bruh? You ain't performing, and that's it. Don't try to blame this on Ten Hag. You're not a scapegoat at all. When was the last time you scored? Tell me that. When was the last time Jadon Sancho scored? It's been last year. Unbelievable. Unbelievable from Jadon Sancho just to come out and say stuff like that. To not back the manager, and especially to do it publicly after a big defeat. It's kind of disgraceful. And he deserves what's coming to him, to be honest. Ten Hag, recently in the news, was asked about Jadon Sancho's future at Manchester United. And it wasn't good. What he had to say wasn't really good. Basically, Sancho's no longer training with us at all. He's on another provisional suspended break, if you'll call it, where he's just going to be training on his own for the next probably 4 months. Probably he'll train on his own probably till January. And come January, my guess is he'll be sold. He refuses to apologize to the manager. Manager says he's unlikely to play again for Manchester United. That's just how it is. Sorry, Sancho. You done messed up. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about Antony. I don't know a lot about what's going on behind the scenes with his whole court case. I will say this, though. I think it was the right decision for Antony to take a little leave from the team until this is all figured out. So we'll see. I think he'll be out for a while, though, to be honest. Because we've seen situations like this where cases like these take forever. Most recently at Manchester United, Mason Greenwood. We sat on this case for almost 2 years. You know? We didn't do anything about it. And then finally we do something about it. I think this is going to be the same situation with Antony. We're going to sit on him for 2 years, 1 year. He's not going to play for a year. He's going to be sitting at home training, thinking about what could have been. I don't know what it is with Manchester United and hiring wingers, players that like to hit women. It's not acceptable at all. At all. He should be taking the leave. I don't know the full story, so I'm not going to speculate on anything like that, but I think it's the right decision for Antony to take a little break from the squad, which again just leaves us vulnerable with our lack of depth already. And I'll tell you this, with Sancho and Antony being out, this is the time for Facu Pellistri and Alejandro Garnacho to really break into this squad and make a difference. We saw it in today's game where Hannibal actually got into the midfield for Casemiro, scores a banger of a goal. Keep this guy in the team. It's about time. He scores his first goal for United, and it's an absolute banger against Brighton. You know, I think Pellistri and Garnacho, I think this is the time for the young bucks to rise. You know, this is their moment. So go ahead and seize it. So now that the Arsenal game's behind us, the Sancho and Antony news is behind us, we can talk about the Brighton game. And to be honest, we didn't play horribly, but we didn't play good. You know, the first half, I think, was us. We dominated the first half. Great couple chances here and there for Rashford. Just really couldn't finish, but was looking deadly, attacking the left side, getting down the ball, getting down the wing, crossing the ball, and putting shots off. The only thing I really will say about Rashford in this game against Brighton today was that there's a little bit of a selfish prick. Selfishness really shone through in this game for Marcus Rashford today. I mean, I don't know. I can't even count on my hands how many times he brought the ball down the wing and took a bad shot or didn't even look up to pass to a wide open Rasmus in the box or a wide open Christian Eriksen at the top of the box. Instead, he puts his head down and just dribbles through everybody and takes a shot off. And then when he eventually looks up, oh shit, I'm nowhere near the goal. This was a terrible idea. Very, very unselfish play from him today. And then obviously, a big part of the news was him not getting subbed off the field. And when Rasmus gets subbed off the field, the entirety of Old Trafford just erupted in boos because taking off Højlund at that time of the game was not the plan. And Ten Hag describes his tactics as he's not fit to play a whole 90 yet. What are these bum-ass excuses, bro? The season has started. Why are our players not fit? Why do we have 8 injuries? Why are players not having the ability to play 90 minutes? Where is the attitude? Where is the mentality? It's just out the window, in one ear, out the other. And it sucks because this just really makes United fans who are just so evil and what's the right word? What's the word I'm looking for? Demanding is a word I'm looking for. United fans are so demanding in terms of needing results right away. And, a little eensy-beensy take off Rasmus for Martial moment in a game like that when the whole stadium boos the manager for taking somebody off. Man. And I'm Ten Hag in. Don't get me wrong. But it's not a good look. And the fact that we're so treacherous and so needy, us United fans, the first instinct of seeing something go wrong, oh, you shouldn't have taken Rasmus out. Look at the boos you got. Ten Hag out. That's United. That's the average, typical United fan. Oh, take Rasmus out. Oh, United lost 3-1. Oh, it's all Ten Hag's fault. The tactics are wrong. Ten Hag out. Like, how many managers do you want to go through before you start pointing the fingers? And we all know where the fingers are being pointed. Yes, it's probably the players. It's a little bit of the attitude there and there. But to be honest, it starts with the club's values and mentality. It starts at the top. Starts at the top with the owners. And the owners, a bunch of greedy, faceless pricks who like to run their business over in Miami instead of here in Manchester. A bunch of faceless pricks who only want money. The Glazer family. This is why we've had instances with Greenwood. We've had instances with Anthony, Sancho. It's just the mentality and the aura that is around the club is allowing these things to happen. Bad performances off the field, media critics blasting players, injuries, not proper training. Like, a lot of it you could say players aren't putting their hearts into it. We should have won that game. We looked terrible. The tactics were wrong. Ten Hag's fault. Yes, and yes, right? But if you look at the bigger picture is the Glazers need to leave. The Glazers need to go. They have created a very toxic work environment within Manchester United. And now it's being fed through our system. And that's the attitude that the majority of our players hold now, is the attitude of the Glazers, the money-hungry Glazers. The attitude's wrong. The aura is off within the club. And that's why we're seeing performances like this against Brighton, where we're losing 3-1, where we're actually down 3-0 before getting a measly consolation goal. So, very rough time to be a United fan, because what we're watching and what we're seeing and what we know needs to happen isn't happening. And to be honest, in my opinion, I've seen other people talk about it, Mark Goldbridge, etc. Nothing will change until the Glazers have sold the club. And I don't see them doing that anytime soon, because this news of them selling the club has just been floating around the whole club and the whole media for 2 years now. So, to be honest, I don't see anything happening. I think this season is going to be a very, very rough season. Very rough season. Take a look at, again, going back to the lack of depth we have in our team. The game against Brighton, look at the highlights. The last 20 minutes of the game, you have Bruno Fernandes playing basically left back and center back. He's the one that's making challenges in the box. In the defensive box. Why is Bruno Fernandes, a center attacking mid, playing defense at the center back or left back position? I'm going to throw up a screenshot of Bruno Fernandes making a tackle at the very end of the game. This is him making a tackle at the very end of the game, just chilling in defense. Because our defenders, our actual defenders, are nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. So the lack of depth, lack of coherency, lack of ideas, a toxic work environment, all these things are combining for another terrible Manchester United season. God, just love being a Red Devil. So with all that being said, we got to get players back from injury. We got to get Amrabat back from injury. We did buy him. Oh, no, we didn't. We loaned him. Sorry. So we got to get him back from injury. We got to get Varane back in this team. And we got to do, there's just a lot we got to do, man. It just doesn't look good for us. Just doesn't look good for us. We're going to struggle big time next week on Wednesday against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. Big time struggle. And I'm pretty sure we play away. Yeah, we do play away. September 20th, Wednesday, at the Allianz Arena in Munich, Germany. You guys, if you want to watch the game, go ahead and watch it. It's on Paramount Plus. But you guys are going to watch and witness. Here's my prediction right now. An absolute demolition job from Bayern Munich. That's what it is. And I hate to say that because I want United to win. Or at least get a draw out of Bayern Munich. Especially in a Champions League group now. But it's looking very difficult, man. Very, very difficult. Especially with the league performances. Even a top 4 finish is looking unlikely right now. I mean, literally, we are sitting in the league right now 13th. We're 13th. We're 13th in the Prem. 2 wins, no draws, 3 losses. 3 losses, brother. We're lost to Brighton. We've lost to Arsenal. And we've lost to Tottenham. I don't know, man. I don't know. We got to get our shit together. So let's just hope for a decent game against Bayern. It's going to be hard, but we'll see. It's going to be very hard. It's going to be very difficult. 2 bad performances, back-to-back 3-1 defeats, 1 away and 1 at home. Very tough for us United fans. But the only thing is we can keep our heads high, have faith in the manager, which I do, and keep saying Glazers out. Green and gold until the club is sold. I've been Miles Anderson, and this has been Red Devils Redemption. Thank you for listening.